All right, so hi class. We're gonna try to go over that classwork you did on Friday on line plots, and and then I'm gonna show you a little bit with bar graphs today in your textbook. So you should have your classwork that you did from Monday and a pencil ready to make any corrections if you missed anything. And I'm going to try to go through it pretty quickly. If you have questions afterwards, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to answer it more clearly then. So here's the book. Hopefully you can see that nicely. And this was the first page you were asked to do. You should have made a line plot and then added up the total wedges of cheese. You did need to be careful, right? Because they're 3 of the 1/8, 3 of the 1/4. So you needed to find a common denominator, add them up. I think it ended up being 24/8 or 3 pounds of cheese in total, which would be the answer for number 2. And then number 3, when you divide that by 10, it would just be 3 over 10, or 3/10 pounds of cheese. For the second one, very similar problem. If you made a mistake on this, you probably made the same one on this problem. If you add them all up, I believe it ends up being 50 tenths or 5 feet each for the sticks of clay. If you divide 5 by 15, that's going to be a fraction, 5 over 15, or 1/3 feet. And that would be the answer for 6A. And then 6B, you didn't have to draw the line plot, but hopefully you imagined one that just had 1/3 and a bunch of X's, 15 X's over top of it. That would look a little bit silly. And then hopefully you can see this page all right. For this one, I had to do the workout. I'll go ahead and put my index card so you can take a look. I found this was 3 holes. This would be 4 4/8 or 4.5. This would be 6 1/4 because 5 5/4 would equal 6 1/4. This would be 2 6/8 or 2 3/4. And then just 1.5 scoop. When I added all that up, I got 18 total ounces for the ice cream. And then number 9, if each scoop had exactly the same weight, I'd have to divide that by 15. 18 fifteenths is 1 1/5, because 1 3/15 reduces to 1 1/5. Number 10, 1 1/5 would come between the 1 1/8 and 1 1/4. To prove which one it's closer to, one of the easiest ways to do that would be to find a common denominator. They all go into 80. So, 1/5 is closer to 1/4 because 16/80 is only 4/80 away from 20/80, which is 1/4, and it's 6/80 away from 10/80, which is 1/8. For how much each one should be charged, we'd have to multiply the 1 1/5 times 50 cents. I recommend changing the 1 1/5 into a decimal, 1 2/10 times 50 cents, or 0.5, would be 60 cents per scoop. All right, so for making and interpreting double bar graphs, you can look along in the textbook with me, and you can see, I think you're pretty familiar with bar graphs. A double bar graph is just comparing 2 sets of similar data. If we take a look at 144, Susan's completing a double bar graph, and let's go through the steps. If you were drawing one, which you're going to be asked to do in a second, you need to make sure you label the vertical and horizontal axes, okay? And then you're going to draw 1 bar for each of the data sets that relate to the item. Use different colors or different designs for each one. Make sure you have a key so that it's clear what each color or design represents. And then graphs always need to have a title. Okay, so this is an example. You can use that to reference. And then we're just going to jump into the practice. Okay, so let's practice on page 148. I think you guys can do this. I'll get you started here. The double bar graph shows the number of pieces of fruit Gina and Kim bought at a supermarket. This graph's been done for you. So you're just going to take that information and put it into the chart and answer a couple questions about it. And then the next page, you're going to have to draw your own bar graph. All right, so I'd like you to do this page and then send it to me so that I can see that you did it correctly. All right, that's all for today. I'll see you next time.